Building Brands podcast is dedicated to exploring the journeys of industry leaders who have successfully built a brand. Join Building Brands Marketing, a marketing agency that has successfully scaled multiple brands, as we dive deep into the strategies, challenges, and insights that have shaped the success of industry leaders and provide you with the resources you need to do the same. Building Brands Marketing is a full-service marketing agency specializing in crafting customized marketing strategies for service-based businesses with the creative powerhouse to drive real results. Welcome to the Building Brands Podcast.
Hi, and thank you for jumping into the Building Brands Podcast. This is an episode with Dean Ballinger, who is the founder of Dean Ballinger Insurance there in Westfield, Indiana. I'm excited to have you on the show, Dean.
I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So, Dean, I'm curious to kind of dive into your story and some of the things that you wanted to talk about today. First is the importance of having a clearly defined niche in the insurance market. So, you stressed the importance of this in our previous conversation the first time that we met, but I want to kind of revisit this. Can you talk about, starting your agency and then how you kind of determined, hey, this is where I want to put all of my focus?
Yeah. So when I first got started, I was like most agents, and it was one of those deals where I was getting guidance from my carriers, right? And the carriers would say, oh, you need all these different avenues and all these different streams of income, and you have a more balanced book of business. And then, as I progressed and I'd been in the business for a few years, I'm like, man, this seems like it's a lot of work with little reward. And so I heard about a couple guys who were out in Boston area. So I took one of my staff members and one of my CSRs, and we flew out there and we met with them as Matt and Zach with GNN Insurance. And I'm like, guys, how are you doing this? I mean, they were doing numbers that were just ridiculous. I think they grew to a $35 million agency in 10 years.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm like, that's amazing. I don't have anybody in my area doing those kind of numbers, right? And so I said, how many carriers do you have? They're like, well, we got about 45, but we use about 4. Because it's not about finding everybody the best price. It's about finding them the best value, because we had shared with them that, our big deal is delivering that wow factor, that every client we look at them as a potential referral partner. And they're like, well, you're way ahead of most, because most people want to be the one and done and they just move on, right? And they want to go get the next one. But, if you can wow each client into becoming a referral partner, think of how much faster you can grow, right? So I said, well, what about commercial and things like that? They're like, nope, we've tried that. It's total chaos when you're trying to be everything to everybody. It costs you more than it makes you. So, I talked to my team. I said, what do you think? And they're like, hey, if they can do it, we can do it. And I remember we came back and we changed our philosophy and we let everybody say, hey, we're going to stop writing commercial. We're going to do 100% personal lines. They're like, well, you're cutting off all those additional streams of income. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm getting ready to create a tidal wave, and we did, right? So, you can stay in that fear factor, because that's one of the things you had talked about. What's the fear of people getting into that niche? And it's about losing those income streams. I got money coming in on this one and money coming in on this one, but you could never be all in unless you find a niche. And it doesn't matter if you want to be all in on commercial, then be all in on commercial, or be all in on personal lines. For us, it was personal lines.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that that was a struggle for you early on, or is that something you had to learn? Or kind of how did that, how did you determine that was the best route for you in Indiana?
Well, for us, we read a book called Traction, and it's by Gino Wickman, and they talked about it, finding that niche as well. And so basically what we did was, okay, here's what we're going to do. For the next 30 days, any phone call that we don't want to take when it comes in, we're going to make the note of that. And pretty soon we realized the one thing that no one wanted to handle in the office was commercial. So we called it our, oh shit, who wants this? Not me, And so it was one of those deals where everything that we loved, every person that we wanted to help, revolved around a personal lines client. And then we realized that once we did that, the the growth potential was unlimited. We could focus on birthday text. We could focus on everything, all the positive conversation touch points that you need. If you're only doing the one thing, you get better at it and better at it and better at it. I think when we went out
Absolutely.
to meet with GNN and we were writing everything. Now, keep in mind, we were a very small agency at the time. It was me and one other guy, and they told me I needed to stop writing business and start focusing on marketing and let Jared write all the business. And then we added Christian. And when we added Christian, we went from writing $450,000 a year in new business to 800. And now we have Jared and Christian, and then we have a part-time guy that helps them, and then he also handles claims for us. And last year we wrote 1.8 million in personal
Wow.
lines, no commercial. So, we had tried the approach to trying to sell everything, but unless you're a really big agency and you have the manpower, your bandwidth just will not allow you to do that. And sometimes you just have to come to that point, say, okay, this is what we're capable of, and how do we approach it? And sometimes the best way to grow is to say no to things that you think are a good idea.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, bigger agencies there. I do want to talk about the challenges between, being an independently owned agency, having your own, small insurance brand in comparison to some of the national carriers, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage competing against those national brands that kind of dominate the advertising space, whether it be with, basically unlimited ad spends, or are there areas where you still feel the playing field is uneven in a lot of ways?
Uh, I think it could have been, but I think the big equalizer was Google. I
Mm,
had a son that was in IT and he loved Google. And he said, Dad, you got to get reviews. You got to get reviews. And, and we looked at Google for everything, right? Where we go to eat, where we're going to stay. You read all the reviews. And so my thinking was, if people are doing that, they're doing the same for insurance. So we got out of the gate, and where most people had like, 3 to 8 reviews, we had 80, you know, and
right.
Google's constantly changing their algorithm, right? So because we've got State
Hmm.
Farm, we got Allstate, we got all those people in the area, and we were at a marketing meeting the other day, and one of the guys that works for me, Christian, he pulls up his phone, he says, "Hey Google, what's the best insurance place to get homeowners insurance in Hamilton County?" And to our surprise, it said, "Well, there's a lot of options. Dean Ballinger seems to be doing a really good job. You should try them." Now,
Yeah.
when you think about that, that costs us absolutely nothing.
Right. And so that organic, visibility is really where you found a lot of success. So
Hmm.
that's where we always encourage our clients. If you're going to invest in anything, it needs to be in improving your organic visibility.
Hmm.
If you want the best long-term return on your investment, right?
Hmm.
And so yeah, Google, for example, 81%, this is probably outdated now that AI is in the picture, but 81% of users search for their primary um, services on Google. And so that's why it's so important to prioritize Google as a place for your business to be located. There's so many businesses that we run into. They've been in business for 10, 15 years. They don't even have a Google business profile set up. It's
Yeah,
like, man, you don't even have that set up. And if they do, they have like you mentioned, like 6 reviews, 5 reviews.
yeah,
And we ask them, hey, do you ask for Google reviews? Um, and they'll be like, no, I don't, I've never even thought to do that. And
yeah,
it always is surprising to us because it's such low hanging fruit. Like you mentioned, it's absolutely free. All you have to do is ask for the review. And then if you have more reviews than other people, a lot of times you'll be ranking higher than them. Um, and
yeah.
so how have you adopted, asking for reviews? Is that something that came naturally to you? Or how have you trained your staff to go out and ask for those reviews as well?
Well, we just talk about the importance of it, and where are the opportunities? Because the opportunities happen when you sell the policy. And then if a customer calls in to change a vehicle, they go, "Man, you were so helpful. I really appreciate it." And well, hey, if you had the opportunity, I'd love if you give me a Google review. Mostly it's the guys
Mm,
that get it. but us girls, we would love to get them as well, right? And then
Hmm.
so it spreads it out a little bit. So now you have multiple people asking. And something that we did this past year that we incorporated, again, we're just working with personal lines. So we're always, how do we tweak it? How do we tweak it? It comes down to our advertising as well. So when people go online to do Google reviews, the things that they're shopping for, okay, who gave them great service, who offered them great rates, and who has great claim service. So I asked the guy that was handling our claims, said, hey, I need you to do me a favor. I need some Google reviews from claims people. So to me, that makes us more reliable, trustworthy agency if we've got sales, service, and claims. And I think we picked up probably 25 or 30 Google reviews this year from claims people.
Oh, wow. That
So,
I would imagine that's pretty difficult.
yeah,
Um,
it's not if you're taking care of the client, because again, when
mm,
you're only working your niche and you got people and processes in place and you're reaching out, you're following up, hey, you're checking in with them, hey, how's everything going? You know, people are not used to that kind of service. So when you wow the pants
right.
off of them, right? It's pretty easy to get actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can give them a reason to leave you a review, they're going to be more likely to do so.
Hmm.
Um, and even with something that's like not always in your control, if you're selling like a policy through Travelers and you have to work through their claims department, you can't guarantee anything, right? Especially in insurance, there's always the red tape of like, I can't guarantee that it would be covered in this situation, but that's what the policy is intended to cover.
Hmm.
Those that type of like workaround and fine-tuned language, right? But it's amazing that you've been able to kind of navigate that and and create those positive relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, because we have
Um,
a guy that's a State Farm agent. He's got 2 locations, but he puts all his reviews
mhm,
through the one, right? And he's trying his darndest to catch them. I'm constantly telling my team, okay, here's the deal. State Farm's got a much bigger brand than we have.
right.
And the last thing that we want to do is him to have a bigger brand and more reviews because why would people
Mm,
even look at us? So you got to look at we're the outlier, we're the unknown. So the only way that we become the known is to have more reviews than anybody.
no, absolutely. I think that's a great strategy. Um, then there's people who actually read the reviews, right? I think
Hmm.
you'd be surprised the decisions that are made just because someone said, hey, I was reading your reviews and it looks like you were the best option.
Hmm.
um, and so we hear that a lot too with a lot of our clients. Kind of coming back to the challenge between competing with larger companies, whenever a customer is looking for a new independent agency, whether it's a small independent agency versus a large, well-known company, where do you think independent agencies sometimes fall short in meeting the expectations of the clients? Is there anything that you think that independent agents should prioritize whenever they're working with new clients?
Well, when you think about it, it's so easy when you're an independent to just focus on matching their prices, right? Just get him
Hmm.
the quote, same price, and you make it all about the price. And we don't do that because, one of the things that we realized was there's two type of clients. There's bass and catfish. Now
Mm,
that catfish is a high maintenance, low profitability. They're going to have claims. They're going to have issues paying their bill. And when you think about that one person, catfish swim in what? Schools of fish, right? So everybody that they know, everybody they hang out with is another catfish. So you want to streamline what your business model looks like. Everybody says, well, who's my client? You're independent. Everybody's my client. No, trust me, they're not. You don't want everybody.
right.
And so you got to make sure that you're selecting the right clients for the right coverages. There's some people they call in for a quote. We're like, you might probably be better off if you call Progressive Direct. Because
So you tell people no, like, no, you're not the best person to work with us. Here's someone else
yeah,
who is a
absolutely,
better fit. You tell people, wow.
yeah. Because here's the thing: if you don't, you'll waste a lot of time.
Mm,
You know, and from an independent side, we probably close 87% of everybody that we talk to.
hmm.
Because some people you just can't help, even though you want to. But that's also
Right.
because we tell a lot of people, no, you're not a good fit.
Yeah. And it's the honest thing, right?
Yeah.
Honesty. And that also, sometimes people will walk away and feel better that they had talked to you,
Hmm.
even if you tell them no, I imagine.
Hmm.
Um, Absolutely. Um, Also, you had mentioned this also whenever we were talking before the show, but the importance of personalization, right?
Hmm.
So that's something that big name carriers can't always emulate, and how instant interaction, the relationship that you build with your community, that's something that's hard for like Allstate or State Farm to always have that same type of and commitment to their communities. So how have you kind of navigated that and made that a priority for your agency?
For us, probably the biggest difference is, as you and I talked about, right? You're never going to beat Progressive and Geico online. They got more money than we'll ever have in our lifetimes. So you can't attack them where they're strong. You got to attack them where they're weak, and that's within their relationship building. So we
Hmm.
do, like tomorrow, we got a big fall event that we'll fill our entire parking lot up, with inflatables and
Right.
do a cookout, and then we'll do in December, we'll do Santa Claus photos. Until we did it last year for the first time, I didn't realize people charge like $35 for you to go get a picture with Santa nowadays. And we do it for free with our clients, and they show up and they bring their friends, they bring their family. They come in with their kids to get a photo with Santa, and their kids say, "Oh, we should probably get
Yeah.
a quote." Well, so you're fishing for the right client, right? So by doing a lot of activities, we do a Flag Day event on June 14th. We go to Costco. We buy like 75 flag sets. They're $40 a piece, and we'll give every single one of those away on June 14th. Plus, we buy like 100 exchange flags, and we have the Boy Scouts come here, and they exchange our customers' flags with them, right? Well, guess what happens? Then the Boy Scouts parents are so thankful that we're doing it, they get their insurance from us, right?
Right.
So it's always doing positive conversation in your community. I mean, it makes a huge difference. There's two things that I've learned in life. You can't outgive God, you can't outgive your community. You know. So when you look at, if everything you do creates positive conversation, everybody wins. You know. And that's when you get your team on board, nobody comes on board and wants to sell insurance, right? But when you come on board and they feel like they're making a difference in the community, everybody can get behind that. You know,
Right.
I know we talked the other day. We were at a home show event that the first year we went to try to gather leads, and it was a disaster. All these people gave us all their information, and then we called them, and nobody really wanted to quote. But I knew that I wanted to do an event type agency so we could give back to our community, get in front of our clients, have that one-on-one with our clients. So the next year we went out there and we didn't sign up anybody for anything. We just went out there, met with our clients, and gave away free T-shirts. You know,
Yeah.
and and we've done that every year, giving our clients some type of gift because if you do something, it's going to cost you $1,000 to rent someplace, right? And we go to this home show for 3 days, and our client and give free tickets to all of our clients to get in free. Now, that was kind of a funny story too. When we first went, the lady said, "Yeah, we'll give you a few extra tickets." I'm like, "No, I need a lot of extra tickets." I said, "I'm bringing buyers in here, and the more
No.
buyers that I bring in here, right, for your clients, I'm not selling anything. So I bring my clients in, they buy stuff from yours. You get more people that come back." And so now she gives me like 3,000 tickets a year, and we
Oh,
put those in our yeah, and we put those inside our Christmas card when we mail it out, along with all of our scheduled activities for the year. So it's more than just a Christmas card. And we never do just a Christmas card. Now we do a photo because Christmas cards are like, oh, I think they're like $1 or something a piece, right? And a stamp costs you 40 cents. So it just gets cost prohibitive. When we do a group photo, we have the gal in our office, dress it up a little bit with some wording and stuff like that. And I think it costs us like 12 cents for each photo. And we mail
right.
that out, and everyone loves seeing the team. They go, man, your boy's starting to get a little older, or some of them say, hey, he's starting to put on a little weight, or what? Hey, what happened to his hair?
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, but so we're standing out there at that home show, and there's so many people waiting in line to see us that we're backing up the home show. And this one gal came
Hmm.
up. I'm eavesdropping. She's like 2 or 3 people deep. And she's like, what are you guys waiting on? What are they giving away up there? She goes, oh, we're waiting to see our insurance agent. And of course, this lady just started. She goes, you're waiting to see your insurance agent? And she goes, yeah. And she goes, are you not with them? They're awesome. And the lady went home. looked at our reviews, and called us and got insurance from us. But I told my teams, I said, never ever did I think becoming an insurance agent would be like being a celebrity. But when you're at an event and people are standing in line and waiting to come up and talk to you, you kind of feel like one.
Absolutely. We tell the clients that we work with all the time because we work with businesses in all different industries, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you're um, wanting us to help you become more visible online, whether it be on Google, social media, any place online, or if you want us to do direct mail, it's always going to be 1,000 times more effective if you're present in your community and you're giving back to your community and people recognize you in your community, because ultimately it's about relationships, it's about building trust, and so the way that you build trust in humanity is through relationships. And so
Hmm.
if you're out in your community doing those things, that's going to produce a lot of success for you. um, and I think that's something that's really important, especially for people starting out early, is to be involved in their community.
Yeah,
um,
even with our employees,
yeah,
I mean, our employees, we look at it different, right? Because it's so funny, people don't think things through. If you're a small business, you're like, oh, well, he had to take off the afternoon because he went to his son's activity. You want him to go to his son's activity, and you want him wearing one of your
right,
T-shirts that you gave him, right? Because it was, oh, you work for an insurance company? I mean, so you got to put your people in a position to win, you know, and stop thinking that they got to be in the office making phone calls or answering phone calls
right,
because they're they're just changing hats. They're going from sales to marketing. And then when they come back, they're
right.
back in sales. But yeah, if you looked at every one of my employees, the wardrobe that they have with our apparel, you'd be floored. You know, we even give them we even get them brand new shoes. We all get brand new shoes every year that match.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the
That's
first year
awesome.
we
That way y'all
yeah
are all on brand.
we are all on brand. The first year we did red, white, and blue shoes. They were by Brooks, and it
Hmm.
started out I was going to do an ad in a magazine. It was going to be $400. I'm like, man, for $400 I can buy all of us because there's only four of us at the time that's working here. I'm like, I could get all of us brand new shoes, and everywhere we go, it'll create positive conversation, and it
Right.
did, and that was back in 2012, and now this year we had to buy 14 pairs of tennis shoes.
Right.
But
So it gets a little bit expensive eventually, but no,
yeah,
I love it. I love the idea.
yeah.
Yeah, so kind of to close out our conversation, say someone who's listening to this podcast is starting their insurance agency or business of any field. What's one simple actionable step they can take right now, that would help to improve their positioning, whether it be from a marketing perspective or business perspective, whatever it may be? What's one simple thing they could do right now?
Uh, Probably the most simple thing that they could do because cost when you're just getting started, cost is always a huge burden. And
Hmm.
so you need to come up with a logo, and you can do that online. Have someone create it for you. There's places on there that do it for hardly anything, right? And
Hmm.
then go to your closet, pull out all your clothes that you have, and have your logo embroidered on everything.
Mm.
And everywhere you go, every place you're in your community, people are going to talk to you because people are, I can't afford to go spend $40, $50 a shirt. No, but you can get every shirt in your closet embroidered for $8. And everywhere you go, my wife finally, after like 3 or 4 years, she said, "Would you please wear something out to dinner that doesn't have your logo on it? Because everywhere we go, somebody talks to you." And I'm like, "Babe, that was the whole purpose."
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
and eventually it backfires a little bit, but no,
yeah,
no, that's great.
yeah.
I love that because it just creates those conversations organically. Um,
Hmm.
where did that come from? Is that something you kind of just intuitively figured out, or how did you kind of come to that realization? Like, man, I just need to build my personal brand with my business.
Yeah, it kind of just came natural. I mean, in the book Traction, they talk about a visionary and a integrator. And
Hmm.
very seldom is somebody both, right? And it was funny that they said the visionary, he comes up with all these ideas. He's the guy that, my wife should get on me sometimes. We're at church and I'll be texting something. She thinks I'm taking notes and she looks over and it's me rewriting something they said on something that worked for the agency. She goes, will you stop doing that? And I'm like, I can't, I'll forget, you know. And but I thought there was something really wrong with me, and then I realized no, I have a visionary personality, and so I'm always thinking, being creative. So in that area, I'm kind of blessed.
So, well, Dean, I very much enjoyed talking to you. This was a great conversation. Where can people find you online?
They can find us at insurewithdean.com.
Perfect. Insurewithdean.com. That's simple enough. People can search that very easily. So, also, if anyone in the Indianapolis area, Westfield area needs insurance, Dean is your guy. Dean, very much appreciate you coming on the show and talking today.
Yeah, and if you have a client or someone that reaches out to you and says, "Hey, how do I get a hold of this guy?" You're welcome to give them my personal phone number that I gave you, and I'll help whoever we
Appreciate
can.
it.
All right, buddy.
Awesome. Thank
Thanks,
you so
Brandon.
much.
All right, buddy. Bye.